gentlemen, welcome to the 247th episode of the Geek First Podcast. Damn, I just wrote down the 248 because this past 2 weeks we've been all over, we've been guessing. We thought at one point it was this, one point it was that. Had to go back, track it down, maybe go back in time, to find out the exact number. So this is 247. Oh, at 250. That's great. Thank you for all your support. I'm alone today, as you can see, unless there's not going to be any Kirkland, Dylan, Jessica, Tyler, Taylor jumping out to join me. This is just a solo Geek First episode. Next week we should be back to regular form. Next week is the Golden Geeks winners announcement. We do it the week of the Oscars. If you want to participate, the fan vote, this weekend the best film nomination should go out. And then you can vote, and what it is, it's our version of the Oscars. We nominate everything from best villain to best supporting actor, actor, all that type of stuff. Go check out the actual nominations episode, or if you want the quick version, you just go to Facebook and you see all the nominees. Like I said, vote, because one, that's for the Fans' Choice Award, but two, if there is a tie situation between the six of us, obviously six of us, even number, so we need someone to break that. And I can tell you there's one fan vote that has actually made a winner for us. That was there was some confusion there, and we couldn't tune the episode. I'm saying that the votes matter for us because you guys are the tiebreaker if we need you. And spoilers, there was a tiebreaker needed. So let's see, anything else? We should be doing a newscast very soon, but if not, just go check out the rest of the stuff on the channel's Cantina. We have a Green Lantern review coming up in March, but you're going to be able to get that early soon. On Patreon, so look out for that. Clone Wars episodes, Mandalorian predictions, the whole shebang. But what we're doing here today, or what I'm doing here today, is talking about Happy Death Day to You. This is a review. It's going to work the same as always. I look around my table and realize I did not bring a water, so great. Perfect. I will give you a non-spoiler version and a recommendation, and then I'll drop the 3, 2, 1 on you. We'll get into spoilers. And yeah, so this is a movie, the first one, I really enjoyed. I didn't write off because I liked the topic, but I just remember seeing it and thinking it could be too kind of teeny. You know, there comes a point in your life where you get older and things are being made and you go, this is just simply not for me. And you know, here's an example for you on a music level. Ariana Grande, at one point, that first album, Break Free, liked all that music. Everything she puts out now, not a fan. I like pop, I like this, but I just kind of go, you know what, this is for maybe a certain group of people, but I look at it's like a certain group of age almost, because I feel like it's a very similar demographic of the people I talk to that like that music. So when I saw the trailer for the first one, I liked the concept, but it looked just too out of touch for me, which sounds weird, but it looked too teeny, and I'm not a teen anymore. You know, it looked too kid gloves off or kid gloves on. And that was the other thing too, is PG-13. I'm warming up to the idea now, but for a while, I was always, if it's PG-13, I'm not a fan of it. As far, if a horror movie is PG-13, I'm not a fan of it. I'd have to look down on a list, and now I'd say the past 3 years, that has changed, but I think when the list started 3 years ago, I could name you like 1 or 2 horror PG-13 movies that I really enjoyed. For the most part, it always just feels like, oh, they had to pull back. So once I heard good things about it, and I heard they were doing a second one after I saw the first one. So I heard good things, missed it in the theater, watched it, really enjoyed it, start to finish. It's a fun spin on the slasher genre. If you want to hear more of my thoughts on the 2019 movie preview, go back to that. Me and Dylan, while talking about this one, got into a debate about the first one because he's someone that sounded like he was enjoying it for the first little bit, and then it just took a big drop off for him, and he did not like that movie. And I'm somebody that defended it and thought it was a great play on the horror genre, and had some fun moments. This is very similar. One thing I will say, and I'll get into more in spoilers, the first trailer turned me off a little bit because I thought we were going a certain direction, but we go that direction, but the way we got there was much better. So that sometimes shows you folks, again as always, trailers are fun to watch and talk about, and we speculate about them all the time, but you gotta judge till you see the movie, because I honestly, if I here in Canada, and you guys probably have like Movie Pass and AMC Movie Plus, things like that, all we got is Cinemia. I get 3 movies a month for pretty much the price of 1. If I didn't have that, I wouldn't go to the theater to see this, but I'm glad I did. I would have saw it eventually, but that's why, you know, a trailer, still you gotta go with your gut. So I'm glad I saw it. I really liked it. I like it as much, if not more, than the first one, just because they get to set up some moments. The first one is very tongue-in-cheek. It's very slasher heavy. It's very kind of Scream-esque, where it's playing on the genre, reversing your expectations. This one has that, but it's definitely more, and I don't want to say too much spoiler, but they mentioned, I'm pretty sure in the trailer, if not, it's very first minutes of the movie, it's very much like a Back to the Future 2 sort of situation, and they even throw out Inception. It is more like that. You still have your slasher elements. There's still the baby whatever doll killer face running around. There's still like a whodunit aspect. And I think that takes a back seat, and not in a way where that's bad. I think the best thing about the sequel is it works with what it had done previously well, but then it changes it up. Look at something like me and Dylan talk about all the time, just for myself and him. Maybe you guys can agree or disagree. But Incredibles 2, we feel that was pretty much Incredibles 1, just with a different kind of shade of paint, right? This starts that way, and it's very much like Deadpool 2, where Deadpool 2, the first 15 minutes is almost the exact same as Deadpool 1, and I sat back going, oh no, here we go. It's just doing the Anchorman Zoolander thing where we're just going to copy or just, you know, do all the old jokes again, but just kind of put them in a different light or a different context. This didn't even do that at the beginning. It starts very differently. I'm not going to spoil. It starts very differently, very clever. I like the way where we get to the actual plot and what we're turning into. And like I said, what it does is it's completely different from the first one, what you want a sequel to be. And I know someone might roll their eyes, that is a sequel. That's sometimes a lot, like not, see what happens when I don't have art. Sometimes that's not the case at all. That happens more than you would think, and you probably just don't see those movies or things like, hey, even some people argue Force Awakens. There's lots of sequels out there that take beats or copy. To me, this does, which Force Awakens is a different debate, but Force Awakens to me was a spin on it and kind of had some echoes of Star Wars. This has a spin-off for a little bit, and you get the things, that's what I mean. It is different, but you're still going to get the stuff that you liked out of the first one. It just kind of turns it up by 10, and it jumps somewhere else. And the biggest thing where it jumps to is, this is going to be very hard to talk about with non-spoilers, but they introduced some plot elements, and they introduced some characters, and some things that were quite emotional, and I really enjoyed that aspect. I was nowhere like Logan. I never cried during this movie or whatnot, but I wasn't expecting it. Almost like Deadpool 2. So I kind of like the sequels are doubling down on, let's do something different, but hit you with the kind of a, punch to the heart gut, you know? I like what they did a lot, and I think that's what pushes it over, is you get to see the characters grow a bit more. Specifically, I always forget her name, because I know they call her Tree. Does she have like a full-on... Is her name Flower? I don't even remember. I do not even remember why they call her Tree. Just so you know. But Jessica Roth's character, who, she's phenomenal. I always shout this out, whether it's a man crush or a big star. I listen after 9, you know the difference. I think she's going to be a big star one day. She just has a charisma about her that I think other actresses you put in this role, it would not be as good. There's many scenes that are just her interacting with other characters, or her looking for a killer, and it's just a lot of focus on her. There's tons of shots in this movie where it's just kind of on her face for quite a while, and she does a good job. Whether she does the kind of badass heroine aspect, or the comedic, or kind of love interest, she knocks it out of the park. I hopefully none of the other geeks are listening to this, because I'm going to big time draft her in the 2020 superhero draft, or 2019 superhero draft, because I could see her easily fitting somewhere in the MCU, something like that. Maybe she's a Kate Bishop. She has a certain charisma about her, so she kind of carries the film. The film is good still, but I just feel like if you get a lower tier actress, or not, whatever they needed for this, she just does perfectly. And I know they've talked about making a third one. I'll be there, because she's kind of one of those, almost like a Neve Campbell, where you're into the main character. She's carrying this franchise. Same thing, Scream's not bad, but it's on Neve Campbell's shoulders, because in these type of horror movies, you're usually the main, excuse me, there's always, the final girl, or there's, sometimes the main guy. And if you look at our history of Halloween, Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, you can see the ones that stick out, and you can see the ones that fall the wayside when you can't even remember the actor's name or their character. So she does a great job at that. So for me, it's pretty much a perfect sequel. That doesn't mean this is a 10 out of 10 movie, no, but in a perfect sequel, meaning I like that something, like I stated, take something that from the past movie, something that you love, still honors that, but puts a new spin on it. Like I was saying earlier, the emotional stuff, Jessica Roth, I think that's how you say her name. She does a great job. That's the stuff that really caught me off guard, and I wasn't expecting that. There's one kind of emotional scene in the first one that was really well done and paid off, but they kind of doubled down here. I'll talk about the spoilers, so that was great. Humor for this movie, the humor that I like about it is the commenting on tropes and cleverness. I think actual jokes kind of go like a 60-65% of working for me. It's, I won't say 50-50, I'll give them a bit more than that. But I don't think there's any really laugh out loud moments in this. There's some scenes for comedy, I think they go on way too long. I won't give you specifics, but there's one spoiler scene. There's one slow motion scene where, let's say there's probably about, I don't know, 6 to 7 characters, and it's them falling or something. Like I said, you won't understand the context, it's nothing big. But it's playing like an operatic song, and they go and zoom on in each character, and you literally could have done like 2 to 3 seconds on one, 2 to 3 seconds on one, but it's like almost 10 seconds on each character, and it was funny, and I laughed, but then I just got to the point, okay, I get the point. I understand what you're going for. So I think sometimes they kind of hang on to certain jokes too long. Rest of the cast is good, but like I said, she kind of carries the movie. There's even her love interest is in it more than the other people, and he has some good scenes, but I always feel they're off the side, right? You don't get much character. You get a little development from, I'd say, the love interest. What's his name? Carter. But really, it's her story. The rest of the people are there to help her out, be some entertaining jokes, and be some friends that we care about, which I think they do a good job. They're all likable actors. So, what would I give this? I think I would give this a 7.5 because I never reviewed the first one, but I'd probably put it in the 7. Like I said, the 0.5 for me is I like the first one more as far as the slasher aspects because I'm more of a slasher type of guy. I love that genre, but it was the character stuff that really worked for me. Yeah, it's not Logan. It's not super dark and deep, but that's why it's getting that extra 0.5, because I didn't expect that going in. When the trailers, you look at one time she wakes up and her hair's just all frizzy. I was just expecting to double down on the goofiness and the wildness and the sci-fi aspect, and they did, but they snuck in some stuff that I think I will remember at the end of the year when I think about Happy Death Day 2. Like, oh, I really enjoyed that scene. It wasn't just a throwaway fun horror slasher flick, which you could argue the first one could have been, but because they took a unique spin, I think Roth did a good job of making her stand out as the main character. You remembered it for specific reasons, and if you just did that over again for the sequel, you wouldn't remember it. So they took a chance, it worked. I'm excited to see where the third one goes. I could worry that it could get too far because even at this point, before this movie I was worried, they did a good job in the movie of they went wild, like I said, turn it to 10, but it still made sense. And I feel like it's a great ending, or a good ending, but I just mean, I don't know if you need more, but classic horror movies, even though they have talked about this being a trilogy, so maybe they just have 3 in mind, but I do wonder, I would like to see what they do, because I feel like they kind of haven't scratched the surface. They scratched all the way in. They do a lot of things in this that I'd be like, okay, now it's a third one, what more is there to do? Obviously you want to cash in, the baby doll face is known, so I know in that aspect, but I don't want a horror franchise to get into the Freddy's and Halloween, but then if it does, who cares? Because some of those movies, other than Halloween, what is the one with Paul Rudd? I watched all Halloweens again, and that was not good. But yeah, so this is going to be your last non-spoilers. I recommend it if you like the first one. You could even jump into this not watching the first one and enjoy it. I recommend seeing the first one first, but I think it's a good popcorn time movie, especially if it's Valentine's Day. I think it's a movie most people can enjoy. Maybe there's some people that like really dude and broy that this is not for me, this comedy, but as I talk about one person specifically in my mind, I think that it's a good time at the movies, and I don't know, I would definitely see it over Alita. I've not seen Alita, but that's just a personal taste thing. Fine with my family, I'll probably see it at some point, but yeah, I don't think you'll go wrong if you like horror, if you like the first one, if you kind of like horror comedy. So 3, 2, 1, we're getting into spoilers right now. This won't be too long. Not like I said, it's no Marvel or DC movie. We're going to break down every nook and cranny. Excuse me. So, the trailer that I was referring to, the trailer starts with, what's his name, Ryan, and he is, it's kind of showing from his perspective, he's getting killed, and then Tree goes, what's happening? And then she explains her story, right? That's the beginning of this movie. But in that trailer, they showed them going back and being whatever it is, May 18th or May 13th, being the exact same day that she was going back to. I was fine with the sequel as far as, okay, we're going to redo this, maybe put a new spin on it, whatever the case may be. But in the trailer, I saw them going back. I know things like Back to the Future 2 have done that, and they've kind of played with the first movie, but there was just something about that trailer it made it seem like the stakes were going to be gone. But the good thing was what they introduced is, yes, there's time travel, and maybe that's part of the reason why I also love this movie. We get multi-dimensions, and I love multi-dimensions. I love Flash. I hope that happens with Endgame. I love seeing what-if scenarios in comic movies and comic books, so I like when that transfers over into anything. Inception isn't really a what-if, but it kind of has that element, right, of parallel universes, or you living in a different universe as that character. So I love that concept, and then once I started going into her trying to get back to that moment, that's great. I was just worried that we were going to go back to the same day and she would relive it over and over, but she'd really have to, I thought there was a chance that, because in the trailer, they don't, and that's where I don't know Back to the Future 2 trailer, I just know the movie, and I like that franchise, I don't love it like everyone else, but I like it enough. The trailer did make it seem like I gotta get back, which I applaud, because it's kind of like a subtle misdirection. It was just, I need to figure out the differences in this time I went back, and this time he's killing all my friends instead. So I didn't get the sense of, okay, we're trying to get back to the life you're living, because she had this big development with her father, kind of coming to Jesus moment with him. She's with Carter, and Carter's been through this experience with her. So for me, it was like, if this was a sequel, and that's what I felt the trailer was showing a little bit, going back and then just resetting and everything, you get the killer again, then that's your life. It's like, everything that happened in that first movie doesn't matter. And, you might go, oh, why would they do that? Many franchises do that, and that's why I was very much worried. But the first 15 minutes, I could settle down, go, okay, right when they mentioned multi-dimension and I want to get back, was perfect, because at the end of the day, I know she's going to get back. I know it's going to take a dark turn, so it doesn't make what I've watched in the first movie feel irrelevant. And then they throw in this great curveball of the multi-dimension as far as things being a little different. First, the beginning of the movie, if you not want to see the movie and you're just listening on, maybe I know Dylan Musk could be listening and he's never going to watch this movie, so here you go, Dylan. It starts with Ryan, he's having the same experiences, and then talks to Tree, she gives him a quick recap, very Spider-Verse-like of, well, let me tell you a story, and she tells you about the entire movie, recaps that, right? He reveals that him and a few friends are working on this project called Sissy, and it's pretty much it's some science project. I can't remember what it does exactly, but it doesn't do what they want to do, and it's almost like a time traveling device. But I don't think they want to do that. I'm sorry, I missed what the reason they made for that, but they go, this shouldn't be the reason, and they've realized that this machine somehow is messing with the time vortex, and they're creating multi-dimensions and whatnot, and it went from Tree, she broke her loop, so it went on to Ryan, so that's what it is. And then there's this whole thing with the school, it's cost them power bills, so you have this principal throughout the whole movie nagging them, trying to kind of stop this, but the machine goes off. At the first point, I like the spin of, which we didn't get exactly any backstory on, so maybe that might be the third one, is the first baby killer that's after Ryan is Ryan himself. They capture him, they lock him down, they take off the mask. It's Ryan. He's saying you need to kill him because he's gonna, the bad killer Ryan is saying that good Ryan doesn't know what he's doing, he's in over his head, and bad things are going to happen if we don't stop him. And he's doing the machine to send him back or to fix it, and he's saying, no. That's never really explained in this movie, so I'm wondering the third one, that might be explained, that if Ryan has done something even worse to the timeline than what we assumed in this movie, or it's just a fun stuff that we never know because that was his timeline, and that's the thing with that's what I kind of understand. And same thing with Terminator. I kind of understand people's, problems with time travel, and maybe sometimes you use it as a cop-out, and like, oh, anything could be a sequel or prequel, but that's kind of what I like. It's like, if something like this Ryan thing is the killer never gets explained, you can go, well, that was another timeline, I think that's just the comic book fan of me. So, this machine goes off, Ryan's gonna send her back. That's the moment I talk about. They all go flying back, and it's operatic music, and they're falling to the ground. It just took too long. I was at the point where I'm like, okay, I'm not finding this funny anymore. And like I said, I think that happens sometimes with the jokes. She wakes up on the day of the original movie and thinks, and as the first, 5 minutes of that scene, half of that scene is the exact same water going off, car alarm going off. I really liked when the boyfriend, or the guy she was kind of seeing that turns out to be gay in the first movie, and she figures that out. When he approaches this time, she's just, you're gay. Like she in the first movie, it's great because they have this great like emotional conversation, her being like, you can come out and like live your real life. This one just, you're gay. Like she's not having any of it. That's all the same until, is it Danielle? Yeah, Danielle, at one moment in the first movie, meets her at the stairs, they have this conversation. The second movie, everything's the same until she goes upstairs, Danielle's supposed to be here. And she doesn't, then she starts noticing little things are off here and there. Carter is dating Danielle.
What's her name? Is it I don't know that character's name. Her friend, Lori, the one that was the killer in the first one. Let me just double check because the actress's picture in IMDb is super far back, so you can't really tell her. Yeah, it's Lori. So the one that was the killer this time, she's not the killer. The first half, you're like. Tree is just assuming that she's the killer, but it's switched where she's sleeping with that teacher. So that's what I like is everything up until when the thing changes, they change all this little stuff, and it's not super drastic stuff. It's just kind of like an alternate universe. It's like if you take, if you decide to take, a left turn instead of a right turn that day, butterfly effect. And that's all good, and it comes down to, and I'll talk about one more thing that I'm skipping over. I'm just talking about the main stuff here. It comes to she needs to kill herself or she needs to get killed because Ryan and his science buddies and friends, they can figure this out. They just need time to figure out the right algorithm to fix this machine to send her back. But the thing is, every time she dies, the day is going to reset, right? So all their work in progress will mean nothing. So the idea is she has to die and remember all this, write it all down. So then when she comes back, she can tell them what's going on and help the algorithm. And you've seen the trailers, instead of the babyface killing her all the time, she decides to kill herself because they go, well, it'd be better, it's better than being scared and running away from a babyface killer. And yeah, and the thing was, this is where it is kind of over the top and cheesy, and you kind of have to go with it, because sometimes the movie asks you to be realistic, and there's emotional stuff which I'll get into, and it's grounded as it can be. But then other times where, so they have this montage of her killing each other, and that's where killing herself, and that's where I'm all for the goofiness and how kind of out there it is. I like it, but at the same point, there's 2 times in this movie where I thought from a realistic standpoint, and she's doing stuff like she's drinking snake poison. She literally, and it's funny, but she literally runs into like a tree shredder or something, whatever it would be. It was those trucks that have it at the back, and you put the tree in there, and it grades all up. She literally is just in jogging gear, and she runs and jumps into it. So it's like, yeah, and they do say, her and Ryan say that this hurts them, right? They say every time they come back, they can feel the pain a little bit. So I don't know if I would choose these really painful ways to go out, as you're going to feel a little bit. And plus, even then, why are you going through like this cheese grater or this tree grater? It's still going to hurt a lot, but that's where you just kind of go back and go, okay, she's having fun, like testing some ways out. That's the movie. So that's what they do. They got to figure it out. But then what I really liked is 2 things. One, you have this struggle with Carter because he's with one of her best friends, and they're not together in this universe, so that's tough for her to swallow. But you kind of get this, give and take where she doesn't have him, but there's this big reveal, which I knew was coming the second she goes to lunch. But she goes to lunch on her birthday with her dad, and you just know that, well, I just knew that her mom's going to be there, and that's exactly what happens. Her mom is there, they go to order, and the dad goes, we're waiting for one more. And she sold that scene so well. Her mom coming back, you could see the emotion. It was really well done, and the emotional scene later is, the whole rest of the movie, other than what I laid out, is her having to decide, because she goes back and says, I want to stay in this dimension, but she kind of, through herself and Carter, sees that she should go back because you're living someone else's life. It's not your life. And 2, she could lose Carter. I have a point to bring up about that after, but there's one moment her and her mom are talking, like, let's go get some churros, like last year, and she's like, what do you mean? I don't know. Because she at one point scrolls through her phones, and she has all these memories that she had with her mom, but there are all these moments she had with her mom, but they're not her memories because she wasn't there. It was a different tree. So that's the thing. That's what I really liked. I was not expecting. The first one, I feel like the emotional moment and her character development is, 1, realizing that she's a shit person, she has to change her ways, and 2, that this guy Carter that she would just walked over and not paid any attention to could be her soulmate or someone she wants to spend the rest of her life with. This is her kind of coming to grips of, 1, getting a great moments with her mom, but it's coming a moment of kind of, not things happen for a reason, but in a way where this is your life. And they even say, she says that to her mom, like, I can't, I can't pick between, she's very cryptic with her mom, like, I can't pick between this and that. And her mom goes, we can't have everything, you just have what you need. And it's also this moment of just realizing how much she loves Carter, and also just realizing that, hey, this isn't my life. And I wish they played up this aspect a little more, because this was the thing. Him dating Danielle, which Danielle, there's a great scene with her and this teacher where she has to get keys from him. She pretends she's blind. It was very funny. I very much like that. But the whole movie, you're kind of hinted at in, Earth 2, we'll call it. He's with Danielle, but at one point she says, hey, you gotta help me with your homework, and then we see that she's sleeping with another guy. So in this dimension, her mom is alive. I'd say her life is a lot better because Lori, who was her friend, or at least her kind of friend roommate in the first one, is alive, and her friend, and makes it alive. They catch the killers. And I guess, well, here's the thing. So her life is definitely better. Her mom's alive, and Carter, who, yes, is with Danielle, this is definitely not going to work out, and you can see that he still has some feelings for Tree. She kind of hints at it a few times again. The other life were together, things like that. And just at the mere mention of that, you can see he wants to jump ship and go with Danielle, because even him, he has a feeling like I'm kind of being used, or it's not the relationship I'm exactly wanting. So there is a version where in this movie, sure, you missed out on some, a couple of years with your mom, and some people might go, oh man, yeah, well, you mean sure. But the thing is, I could miss out if one of my parents were gone, and this is where I'll get into why the movie does make sense, but I think it should have played up. If one of my parents was gone, and they went, hey, your mom or dad could come back to life, the only thing is, there's going to be 2 years of moments of them you're not going to remember. You'll have, photos of them, and your parents can bring them and tell you to, but you're not going to exactly remember them, but your parents get to come back. And knowing that's not a Pet Sematary situation, knowing that it's, it's not going to be like a Ghost Fire situation where the dad's just going to die right away, knowing that, okay, there's no killer, let's just say they get to live a normal life, hopefully this time, I would do it. Because you have the person that you really love, you're probably going to still end up with, you don't know for sure, but it looks like there's a good shot, and you got your parents back, and even then, having the parents back is over a little bit of, they established in the first one why they would work out, why Carter's such a good guy, but still, you've only been with them for, well, I guess not a little bit, she has so many time limits, but still, I'm just saying that's probably going to work out. You don't know for sure, but there's a sense that you guys are attracted to each other, and this Daniel thing, it's just kind of a phase, right? What I wish they played up more is they talk about her kind of switching dimensions, and if they close the loop, this is where she'll be. I wish they would have played up, and they do say, like, you're living someone else's life, and they came down to more, for me, it's a moment where, oh, well, I gotta pick between a life. And it's, either my mom is alive and Carter's with someone else, or my mom's dead, but Carter and I are together, and that's kind of life I meant to be living because that's where I was born, that's my timeline. So they played up more. She makes that decision because you can't live in the past. I gotta go back to having that life. But at the end of the day, I wish they played up more of, if you stay there, I would assume the other Tree that has this good life up until the killings, this good life, is gonna be in your shitty life. Honestly, because that's the reason I would go back. I'd go, okay, this is great. I would love to have this life. But there's another version of Travis out there, and he's getting dicked over, and I don't want to do that, so let's bring him back. But if they said, hey, no, that just doesn't exist anymore, and you can either pick between this universe and that dimension, I'm going that one every time. And I get people are going to, like, some people might say, oh, that's the point of the movie she developed. I understand that, but I think they didn't set it up enough in a way where it didn't seem like she could have both. I think they should have made Carter more and Danielle more happy and more together and more like, yeah, he doesn't love you, or he can sense a kinship there, very much like any other alternate dimension where they might feel something, but they know, okay, this isn't exactly real, or, for him, like, he can appreciate, oh, I could have saw myself at the time where I ended up with Tree, but I love Danielle, and this is my life. Then I would have understood it a bit more, because there would have been more of choice, but it seemed like if she stayed in this dimension, she would have kept one of her friends, and her and Carter would have worked out eventually. So I get the point in the movie, but for me, I wish it was later on a bit thick, because that's where I sat back and went, what would I do? And I went, okay, if I'm screwing over another Travis, no, I would go back and fix and be like, Travis, you go there. This was your life, because if you get stolen this life, it's unfair to you. But if it doesn't affect another Travis, I can just go live a better life and probably find a way to get Carter or get the girl I like. I think I'm going to take the risk, which, you can say maybe it sounds selfish, and maybe that's the point of the story, she's not selfish, but I just thought there was a way that it's not that awful, like, this life is much, much better, but she makes the choice, she goes back to the old life, shenanigans ensue with the killer. The killer this time is, like, the teacher or doctor who Tree was sleeping with in the first one, that's married, having the affair. This one, he's with Lori, so that was fun. There's one moment, though, where his wife and him, like, that was very quick, where he's the killer, and then it's just like, oh no, like, I'm not alone. And his wife was in on it, because he says, like, I need my affair to die with her, but then they made it sound like he needed to kill Lori, so the affair would be a secret, but then the wife knows. So the whole motivation they set up for him doesn't really make sense. That's where you get the cheesy of he kills his wife and like, I don't want a divorce. There's this great moment where he shoots his wife, she falls to the ground. Lori gets shot, and he drops this line, I want a divorce, and he shoots his wife. There's this moment where these EMTs that are in the hospital when this happens are taking up the ex-wife, the person who's the killer, everything like that, loading on a gurney. Then there's people just running by Lori. She's on the ground. Her other friends just come pick her up. She's shot dead in the stomach. I've never been shot, but I assume you shouldn't just pick her up. I know they get on the stretcher, but at first it didn't seem like there's no stretcher inbound, so they just picked her up and like, you okay? Oh, I don't know. I hope so. Like it was, that was kind of poor. That's where for me. That's why I kind of put this in like the 7.5 range, because for me it's lots of fun. I have a good time with it, but there's still some moments where you kind of roll your eyes like, okay, this does have kind of a cheesy slasher genre feel to it. So yeah, that's all the moments. And then I guess I did not talk about, but the emotional stuff, when she had to say goodbye to her mom, and even the scene where her mom thinks she's pregnant, but really it's just talking about a boy and choosing, all the stuff with her mom was great, but the stuff with her and having to say goodbye, that was fantastic, and I was not expecting it. And that's why, yeah, the first one has some emotional beats. I think it has just that one scene with the father, but this one kind of had an emotional tie throughout, because it's her having to decide, what do I do? My mom is alive here. What decision do I make? So I really enjoyed it. I recommend it. You've listened to the spoilers already, so I've spoiled it all. But if you liked what you heard, maybe go check it out. So thank you very much for tuning in. If you like what I do or what we do here at The Geek First, head down in the description below. You can find our video and podcast services there. Please subscribe, like, review. That helps us out. That helps us spread the channel. Go join our Facebook and Twitter. Facebook, we got Star Wars polls popping off. A DC poll is starting soon. But we just have good conversations right now with this Ryan Johnson controversy and rumors that were going around. Have some good discussions there. So yeah, come join. Come have some fun. If you really like what we do, head over to Patreon. $1 amount, you get early exclusive stuff. $5, you get everything. $1 gets you half the content we put up there. $5, you get everything. And it's a good bang for your buck. We got Green Lantern retro happening. We got Hobbit retro. We got Elektra retro happening. Oof, it's gonna be a good month. So thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for tuning in. When I hear from you next time, it'll not be boring.